Репортажі про державну візиту прем'єра-міністра Канади Стівен Харпер в Україну спонсоровані Конгресом українців Канади. Перша зупинка у Львові надзвичайно символічна. Це відвідини Українського католицького університету. Університет, який перший відстоював нові тенденції нового президента України, скорочувати людські права і заставляв цей університет шпіонувати на своїх студентів. Якраз тепер всі чекають приїзду нашого прем'єра-міністра Канади пана Харпера. Перед приїздом прем'єра-міністра Канади до католицького університету преса мала нагоду підступити і почути від ректора Українського католицького університету Бориса Гудзяка про насильство Служби безпеки України.
Ukrainians had an incredible history. 17 million people died in this country of an unnatural death. And the fear is subcutaneous. You just scratch the skin and it's under the surface. People have stepped back. After this visit of the representative of the SBU, students said, well, maybe we shouldn't be commenting on blogs. Father came with his daughter and said, well, will the accreditation be taken away? Fortunately, none of this has happened, but society needs to be vigilant about its principles and about its freedoms.
Діти всім відомого закладу «Джерело» гарним співом привітали прем'єра-міністра Канади. І офіційно представив прем'єра-міністра ректор Українського католицького університету отець Борис Гудзяк. Тут прем'єр-міністр Канади виголосив надзвичайно сильну промову, осуджуючи тиранські режими і намагання українського народу до справедливості.
Yesterday I visited the Holodomor Memorial. Holodomor was, of course, officially recognized as a genocide by Canada's Parliament 2 years ago. Largely thanks to the work of my caucus colleagues, in particular James Bazan, who in fact introduced the legislation. Now, as you know, almost as many Ukrainians died in the Holodomor during the 1930s as there were Canadians alive at that time. To contemplate an act of malevolence on that scale truly focuses one's mind on the nature of this evil. So much for communism's supposed ideals. Of course, through it all, for years, for decades, thousands of Ukrainian Canadians demonstrated at every reasonable opportunity to raise awareness in the West of Soviet oppression. They did so because they knew all too well that their brethren back in Ukraine had no such freedom. And among the leaders of this Ukrainian-Canadian vanguard was a parliamentarian from Toronto named Yuri Shimko, a descendant of Ivan Franko, who I know is revered in this city and throughout Western Ukraine. So yes, Canadians did rejoice when we saw that ideology of Soviet communism consigned to history's scrap heap. And when Ukraine reclaimed its freedom, we were more than ready to reach out to those who had lived under communism for all those horrible years. Besides the bonds of kinship that exist between Canada and Ukraine, there are important values and principles to promote. As Canadians, we believe that a government must work in the interests of its people, not the other way around. We believe that countries which respect the rights of their own people are more likely to respect the rights of other nations and to be good world citizens. And we believe that countries where citizens know what their governments are doing and can hold them accountable are less likely to make war on their neighbors than those where power is the possession of an exclusive ruling class responsible to nobody. There are exceptions. There have been exceptions. There always will be. But the exceptions, if anything, prove the general rule. If peace is your goal, then a free and democratic society is the way to go. Therefore, the cornerstone of Canada's foreign policy is the promotion of such values: freedom, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law, and all the institutions that come with them: property rights, an impartial judiciary, and above all, freedom of expression and a free press, the freedom for which Gongadze became a hero. Yesterday, our government signed a youth mobility agreement so that young Canadians and young Ukrainians will find it easier to travel between our two countries and to work in each other's. Go ahead. Obviously, as Canadians, we want to keep strong and vital the close relationship that we have with Ukraine. We would love to see lots of you come to Canada, both for work and to have some fun. All we ask is that while you're in Canada, to teach us more about your Ukraine, and make sure you share your Canadian experiences with your friends. Tweet about what you see, post the best of your photos of Canada on Facebook. You can help all of us to become better friends. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to conclude with this. Your country has been in transition for 20 years. Just as nobody could have predicted the past 2 decades, no one can say what the future holds. But it is a great time to be alive. In fact, as I look about me, I am reminded of a fragment of poetry. Bliss was it in that dawn to be alive, but to be young was very heaven. For ultimately, what your country becomes, how it responds to the turns of future history, and how you live as citizens, all this will be up to you and your generation. You have great things ahead of you, great things to decide, a whole destiny to shape. I would therefore say this not only to you, but to all the fine young people of Ukraine. Au moment où vous commencez votre vie professionnelle, rappelez-vous qu'au Canada, que vous avez des amis. As you set about your life's work, remember that in Canada you have friends. Friends who respect and admire Ukraine's heart for freedom, its spirit of national self-determination, and the courage of its people, a courage that has never deserted you, even in the darkest nights of your long history. As Shevchenko wrote, and I quote, "Strive and you will triumph, for God is on your side. The rewards are glory, truth, and that most sacred of things, freedom." I look forward to meeting all of you, and I wish all of you good luck in your future. Slava Ukraini, Slava Canadi.
В чудово обдуманому плані для візити прем'єра-міністра у Львові включено відвідини катедри Святого Юра, де прем'єр-міністр привітав Кир Бенедикт, а професор Олег Кіндій Католицького університету розказав прем'єрову-міністру про архітектуру та іконографію катедри. Після реклам відвідини тюрми Лонського і зустріч із Русланом Забілим. The TV reports of the visit of the Prime Minister of Canada, Stephen Harper, to Ukraine are brought to you by the Ukrainian Canadian Congress.